Hi everyone, wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom Vorach. One of the amazing things of our Torah is that it's multifaceted. You can read it one way, and then you can read it another way, and it means something completely different. Sometimes using creativity or different ideas or translations of a word. And we find such an example in our Parashah. This week, Parashat Behar speaks about the different laws of land that has to return in the Yovel year, in the Jubilee, etc., etc., etc. And the Pasuk says, Ki yamuch achicha imach. If your brother becomes impoverished, umachar me'ahuzato, and they have to sell, limkor, they have to sell their land. The Pasuk continues that their relatives should come and help them redeem it and repurchase it. But the Noam Elimelech reads in this Pasuk something completely different and fascinating. And he says, Ki yamuch achicha, your brother becomes impoverished, not physically, but spiritually. Umachar me'ahuzato, and they feel machar, alienated, a stranger. They feel far from their spiritual heritage, not just the real estate, but they feel far from God, from the Torah, from mitzvot. They don't feel connected to this whole religion going on. And the Pasuk is commanding us, their relatives, to go out, to do what we call outreach, to do kiruv. And a lot of times when we hear that word, Rabbi, I don't know, live and let live, we shouldn't impose our views on other people. And there is something to that, and it's true to a certain degree. But just because we can't coerce, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be concerned. It doesn't mean that it shouldn't hurt us. The Torah is commanding us what we know to be true. Kol Yisrael arevim zeh lazeh. Every Jew is connected to another Jew. And so it is our obligation to find that person around us that feels alienated, that feels far, and to find out how we can connect them. And the way we do that, A, is by educating. Many people just simply do not know. B, we have to remember that we are not superior. We shouldn't make ourselves feel superior. It's not about putting them down or showing that we know more. It's simply because we are concerned for them and we do value them. And if we don't, by the way, value them for who they are right now, then don't waste your time, don't waste your breath, because nothing that we ever say is going to penetrate to that person. And finally, by setting an example, by leading a life of purpose, of Torah, of mitzvot. One time, the Chafetz Chaim was giving a class, and he spoke about this idea of outreach. And afterwards, he heard some of the students saying, I think the Chafetz Chaim is out of touch. He's speaking to us about outreach. We're not such big rabbis. Why is he talking to us? We're not Chabad, we don't do that stuff. And the Chafetz Chaim was very bothered with that comment. And so afterwards, he asked to speak again. He said, okay, if you want to speak again, b'chavod, of course, go ahead, Rabbi. Chafetz Chaim gets up and he says, I want to tell you a story. There was once a man from a very prestigious community, wealthy man, and he goes to this little primitive village, and he asks for a glass of water. And they present him with water, but the water is very cloudy, very dirty, a lot of pebbles. And the man says, this is how you offer water to your guests? They said, well, what do you like us to do? This is from the well. This is how it comes out. He says, you got to get a filter. You got to clean it. Okay. Well, a few days later, a fire breaks out. And the man starts screaming, water, quickly, bring water, bring water. And they start running out. And he waits 5, 10, 15. Finally, after 20 minutes, they come back with water. He says, 20 minutes later, the house burned down. Where was the water? They said, listen, we went to the well, but we had to clean it. We had to purify it. We had to put it in the filter. And the man looks at them and he says, you fools. You fools. When there's a fire, you use any water you have. Don't worry about it being clean. Don't worry about it being pure. Says the Chafetz Chaim, there is a fire in our generation. People are falling off the path, off the derech, by the dozens, by the hundreds, by the thousands, by the 10,000s. We don't have time to waste. We don't look for only pure water. Every Jew, whatever your connection is to Torah, whatever your connection is to mitzvot, there is someone out there that's less, that you know. Find them, pull them in, bring them in. You heard a nice class? Forward it to them. You're going to a nice class? Ask them if they want to come along. We should be concerned. And this is the obligation that the Torah imposes upon us in this week's parasha, to find that person, and to redeem them. Not only to redeem their real estate and to redeem their land, but to redeem their souls. And by doing so, Kol Yisrael arevim, we will be not only connected, but we will be arev, also beloved to one another. Uba letzion goel, and we will be zocheh to God as well, redeeming us. Shabbat Shalom.